Hey, are we live?
Hi. Yeah, I think we are.
Oh my goodness. I have been so excited for this event. This is a dream come true.
I'm so stoked. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. There's so many people here, which is amazing. Oh, and there's a cat here.
And there's a cat. Yeah, she wouldn't miss it. So.
I'm gonna say hi in the chat. Hi, everybody.
Such a great
Yeah.
like I've been just watching everybody in the chat and there's the red, white, and royal blue fans and the one last stop fans and everybody is so rightfully excited for this absolutely beautiful third born child of yours.
Here she is. And also the purple Barnes & Noble exclusive, which is what y'all will be getting if you bought your ticket. You get one of these guys and it's signed.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to jump in a little bit. I want to start with for anybody who somehow stumbled in here without knowing who Casey McQuiston is. First of all, you got lucky because it is amazing. One of my favorite authors.
Thank you.
So if you somehow missed Casey's backlist, they have written Red, White, and Royal Blue and One Last Stop, both of which are new adult, right? You would say new adult or
yeah.
So which makes I Kissed Shara Wheeler your YA debut. So I love this book so much. That's gonna probably be really obvious to everybody watching. I got to read it early. I got to blurb it. I cannot believe that I get to talk to you about it tonight.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. And your blurb was so incredibly kind and generous, and it's printed really nicely on the back of the book on Shara's stationery, which you didn't know it was going to be on Shara's stationery. And you texted me the other day like, oh my God.
I'm like, I just like the number of times I've just like picked this. I've been like, I'm on a Casey McQuiston book.
It's a long time coming. It's the first time I've had a YA that was like, oh, I can send this to Becky. So that's fun.
Well, and I'm so excited to ask you about that too. Just like that transition, the age category transition you made. But first, first housekeeping, just want to let everybody know, I think, a lot of y'all are so on the ball because you're amazing. But in case you haven't seen it yet, there is a little window at the bottom called Q&A. And we are going to be leaving, we're going to try probably about 15 minutes. I'm going to try to keep an eye on the time to make sure we can answer as many of your questions as possible. So drop all your just burning questions that you have for Casey about Shara, about Casey's backlist and process, writing, everything. And we will dive into those closer to the end. And we're here at Barnes & Noble. Y'all are all getting the purple book that Casey showed you.
Wait, I'll show you again. It's so pretty. And the end papers are pink and they're beautiful.
I'm really excited. That one's coming for me soon too. Yeah, but okay.
I was gonna say I could send you one, but you already have one.
Oh, I'm on it. It's been coming for a minute. Yeah. Since the day you announced it. So, I want to start by asking you the thing I always forget to ask, but is actually pretty important, I think. Give me the elevator pitch, or just in your words, what is this beautiful book about?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I have to shout out my Shara shirt. This is, I got this from Etsy. Like one of those things we can put it like a word on a shirt. And I was like, I'm just getting Shara. So yeah, shout out to that. But okay. Yeah. So this book, I Kissed Shara Wheeler. I kind of, when I believe the announcement pitched it as Paper Towns meets Booksmart with a touch of Saved, which I think is really accurate. It is about, it's about Shara Wheeler, who is a small town princess, prom queen, do no wrong type of gal. Everybody loves her. She's never done anything wrong in her life until she disappears on prom night. And nobody knows where she went. But before she left, she kissed 3 of her classmates who seemingly have nothing in common other than the fact that she kissed them. So there's Smith, her longtime quarterback boyfriend. There's Rory, who is the sort of angsty, hot with a guitar, burnout guy next door, who's always had a crush on her. And there's Chloe, who is her uptight, kind of unpleasant academic rival. And the story is told from Chloe's point of view, and it follows her as she realizes that her, Smith, and Rory have all been left with these little pink envelopes that contain some clues as to what's going on with Shara, where she went, and why she left, and also just a whole bunch of secrets that they're going to uncover along the way. And it is it's a really good time, and that's the elevator pitch. Yeah,
I think that's great.
I mean, I think so.
Y'all, it's so good too. It is so good. It is like everything you love about Red, White, and Royal Blue in One Last Stop, but it's also its own story and just this whole just new little world of characters to adopt and treasure forever. I'm so excited for tomorrow. I want to ask you, like, I've been thinking so much about this being your YA debut, but your situation here is so unusual because your backlist has such a huge crossover audience. So like I would say, you already have so many YA readers coming in who are eagerly anticipating diving into this. So I'm just so curious to know like what that's been like for you making this transition, but also in that particular context, or you are telling a different kind of story with a different type of target audience, but to many of the same, not all, but like many of the same readers.
Yeah. I mean, that's always what I bring up because I've been asked like a lot on this press tour, like, what's it like going from adult to YA? What did you change about your style? And I always lead with that. I'm very aware that I have a lot of teen readers already. And a lot of like my books are like younger adult, so like new adult. And so there's a lot of crossover with like upper YA readership. And even honestly, like I've had readers, as young as like 15, 16 that I've met at events. And so I knew when I was going to write a YA that I didn't want them to feel like it was a different experience. I didn't want them to feel like all of a sudden I was handling them with kid gloves or didn't feel like they could keep up with me. And so I was, dumbing myself down or talking down to them. That was something I was like really, really aware of when I was writing, because I knew if I was a teen reader and I was always reading above like my like age group, and I read a book by an author that I loved, and then I read a YA and it was talking to me differently, I would be so offended. I'd be like, you think I can't handle this? Like I could handle this. And so like the tone, the prose, the sense of humor, a lot of that stuff, even some of like the romance beats are, the same type that I would do in an adult romance. It's just, it's really more of like a thematic difference, about like, what are these characters grappling with? Where are they in their like development journey? What do they know about themselves? What are they figuring out about themselves? I think being a teenager, like being in in your early 20s is a lot about like having no idea who you are and trying to figure that out. But I feel like being a teenager is kind of the opposite, where you've known who you were for all this time. And then all of a sudden it's like, you're looking around and high school is ending and you're like, I don't know who I am outside of this place. And for the first time, you're like, oh no, like, how do I figure that out? It's kind of the first moment where you realize that you're going to spend the next 5 years trying to figure out who you are. And that's kind of fun to write because I'm so used to writing farther down the line, and Chloe comes into the book really sure of herself and really sure that she has nothing to learn, and nobody can tell her anything, and she's like, I just got to clock out of here and move on with my life. And so it's really funny and fun to kind of explore that side of it thematically. And then obviously I didn't do any like what we call like steam in adult romance in this book. I mean, obviously there are teens who are, you know, sexually active. I personally was not one of them. And so I wouldn't know where to begin to write that.
I was so far from being,
oh my God. Same
universe for me.
Yeah. And so that was also just like my preference as a writer, not really something I had a lot of interest in writing, and also not something I felt like the story lent itself to. But other than that, I feel like I tried really hard to keep in mind that I wanted my teen readers to feel at home in this book the way they feel at home in my other books, and that, you know, teens are really smart and they know what they can handle. And if they pick up a book and they're like, I'm not ready for this, like they'll put it down, you know, like we don't have to, I feel like there's like, there are things that we need to be responsible about as adult writers writing for teens, but we also like need to trust them and trust their judgment of what they are and aren't ready to handle, you know? So that was kind of the journey.
I totally see that. Like, yeah, you know, it's, you know, reading this and kind of thinking about just like, what are the tonal differences between like, you know, new adult and YA, and, you know, your new adult and your YA. Mm-hmm. And it's like the first thing that comes to mind, I mean, it really just flows from, it's like the specificity of these characters, you know, mm-hmm. It's YA because you are so like in Chloe's head, mm-hmm. and she's such a realistic teen character.
Yeah,
she's yeah. I want to talk about her.
It's Chloe. I love talking about Chloe. Chloe, I feel like I've said this before on Instagram, but like she is like my love letter to annoying girls. I love when I like, if I don't like read reviews that often, but every now and then I'll catch a glimpse of somebody being like, well, I thought Chloe was annoying. And it's always an adult who says that. And I'm always like, good, I've done my job. Because I think that the point, you have to let teens be annoying in YA. Like there are a lot of, when I look back on my own teens, I find my own self annoying. You know, I think that I think it's really important to like let her have, I mean, we have so many unlikable male protagonists in this world. We have so many YA books about like this amazing girl love interest who falls in love with like a guy with the personality of like a Dr. Scholl's insole. And like there's like you know, I feel like the bar is so low for like YA dude protagonists, and I'm like, I wanted to do this girl who was intense and pushy and really, really judgmental and a bit elitist. Like she has a lot to learn and she has a lot of room to grow. And it was so fun writing her because she felt so real to me. I was like, I feel like I know this girl. I feel like this is the type of girl that I would have like a really intense like tumultuous friendship with in high school, where like I wanted her to think I was really cool because I really was impressed by her, but at the same time I felt extremely threatened by her because she was really smart. And she was just so much fun to write. And I find that like teen readers really, really connect with her because she is just like, she is going through the intensity of teen emotions and she's reacting not always in the best way, which I think is what teenagers do, you know? And yeah, I just loved writing her. She's so much fun. I got a review from Autostraddle today that called her like my most challenging protagonist yet. And I was like, yes, I feel like I've written so many books with, my first two books, like the main pairing is just like two people who like, August is a bit prickly, but ultimately they're like nice, good people who are nice to each other. like ultimately. And I was like, I want to write a book where the main character is just a terrible little a-hole and like and just have fun with it and let her have an experience and let her grow as a person, let her learn some stuff, let her mature, because that to me is like what being in high school is about.
I'm obsessed with Chloe. I think she like, because I mean she really is one of the most realistic characters that I have encountered in YA. And like it's like I love that her strengths are so tied to her like I don't want to say weaknesses, but it's like she's so smart. Like she's one of the smartest characters ever. And she's like driven. And it's like, she that doesn't just exist like alongside her disaster self. It's like like she's like applying those traits toward being a complete disaster. Like it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think so much of her personality, it's like hard to tell which parts of her, I think part of it is innate, like she's always been this nightmare, but a lot of her personality is also stuff that has developed as a defense mechanism to this environment that she's in. And I think that was like something I really wanted to dig into because, you know, I grew up in a very similar environment as Chloe for a much longer time. And I, as an adult, have so much frustration and impatience with my younger self and like the personality that I had back then. And I had to really kind of like part of my process of writing this book was like kind of cultivating empathy for, you know, being annoying when you're in a situation that is bad and you develop behaviors and traits to survive that situation. And so a lot of Chloe's like quote unquote bad personality is her having to be spiky and having to be, you know, like I'm going to reject you before you can reject me type of thing, which was really, really rewarding to explore and to like let her open up and like be vulnerable sometimes. It was really fun.
I love that. And I also, you know, and you and I have talked about this a little bit before too, but yeah, when you think about that environment and how your environment shapes you and how that particular sort of environment, you know, can be really fraught for queer kids. And you get to see kind of how that has impacted, you know, like that's shaped so much of who Chloe is. But then you also see that with Shara. And I did confirm it's not a spoiler to say that Shara, as in like I Kissed Shara Wheeler, said by a girl named character. Shara is another queer kid, same little town, and she's so different from Chloe. And I'd love to hear you speak about that.
Yeah, I mean, Chloe, I'm really obsessed with like pairings where the two characters are kind of foils of each other. I guess that's like the one day in English class in high school that like really like ignited something in the back of my like reptilian brain. And I was like, foils, I'm gonna write this forever. And Chloe and Shara are two people who are queer girls who like their very identity is really incompatible with the environment that they're growing up in. And they have reacted in completely opposite ways and have adapted in completely opposite ways, where Chloe is like, screw you, screw your game, screw your rules. I am going to win in the way that matters to me and like the real meaningful way. I don't care about popularity. I'm never going to win that way, but I will be valedictorian. I will prove I'm smarter than all of you and that I knew better than all of you all along. And I will give you all the finger on the way out the door. And Shara is the opposite. Shara is, I am going to find a way to be everything you could ever dream of loving. Everything that this town wants and expects, everything that my parents and the school and the church want and expect me to be, I'm going to create that and I'm going to be that so that I don't have to ever show any other part of me, you know, because there's so much out here on the outside for you to love, that I can hide inside it and be safe, you know? And so they really are, both of them are so shaped by the expectations of others and by the environment that they're in. And they kind of have to find their way to each other and like meet in the middle of, you know, Shara has to sort of deconstruct this, you know, sort of tower she's built around herself to protect herself, and Chloe has to put away the claws and be a little, they both have to become a little more vulnerable in just completely different directions in order for them to work together, and really more than that, just for them to like be happy and to grow as people and to like mature and grow up and go out into the, because like both of those strategies are not going to work for them out in the real world. Like Chloe can't go to NYU and just like give everyone the finger and expect to make friends. And Shara can't, you know, go, I mean, Shara does not even know how to exist in a world that's not this high school, this school she's been at for her whole life, that was made where her place was carved out for her. You know, they, you know, they're figuring out how to be together, but they're also just figuring out how to be themselves, which was really I was like so geeked to write like them meeting in the middle like that and letting them, like, they really are each other's like perfect match. There's like this one line that I kept rewriting over, it's like the passage it was in changed like 50 times, but I kept this one part, like this clause of a line, because I knew it had to go in the book somewhere, because it was exactly what I wanted to say about them, because it was Chloe imagining that like she would like hold Shara against her to be like, see, we're a match, you know, and like that ends up happening in a scene I won't spoil, where like Chloe does that, and that is exactly what they are. Like they're a perfect match for each other. They're each other's exact like perfect foil. So that was fun to write.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, you know, it is incredibly fun to read, but then it's like it is, I think, so powerful. I think it is so powerful for an ebook like this to be entering the world at this moment, because like, you know, you want to say, oh, it's like, you know, it's 2022 and like, you know, we're not going to need to you know, have a full like fortress as our personality, you know, like, but
You would
like,
think.
you would think, yeah, but it's like, you know, and I just, I love the way you explore that, and I love the I mean, you know, personally, and like, you know, I am very deliberately dressed like, you know, like the Jewy Shara kind of like, but like I like, it meant so much to like make space for a character like her as well,
Yeah.
you know, like yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah, so it is really okay. And I will also want to, because I'm also keeping an eye on the time, and I do not um want
They
to
said we can
take
go a
over.
little over. So
Okay.
like it's fine.
Okay, cool. Because
We're vibing. It's fine.
I know, because I have so many things I love about this book. I could just list them off and just keep you all here for a couple of hours. But
Yeah.
we got to talk about the ensemble, because you are magical at that. And
Well, so are you. So you would know.
um yeah, they all feel very alive to me. And one of the things that I think is so interesting about this book is um like, you have a lot of different kind of dynamics happening among the secondary characters, with the way the secondary characters are interacting with Chloe, with Shara. um I mean, I'd love to hear you talk about any of them. I
Yeah.
especially just, I would also love to hear you talk about just like that little trio at the beginning, just like that. Yeah, like Chloe, Rory, and Smith. And you know, when they kind of stumble into this mystery together.
Yeah. So the original idea for this book actually kind of sprung out of there was this, when I was in college, and I took like a screenwriting class in summer session one year, and I had to come up with a concept for a movie, and the concept I had was about like a girl who's a bank robber, and she runs away from home to rob banks, and she leaves behind like her best friend and like her fiance and her brother. And it's all about like the three of them on the road, like trying to trace down this bank robber. So it was this idea I always had. And like, it was just like always kind of percolating in the back of my mind. Like, what if I use that one day? It was just like kind of a thought exercise in class, but it was something I always kind of came back to. And so when I pitched Shara, I kind of took that idea and was like, okay, so let's kind of change it up. Let's do it instead as like a almost like an updated take on the Breakfast Club, you know, where they're kind of each of them are a deconstruction of one of these archetypes, you know. So like obviously Shara is the princess, we've got Smith the jock, we've got Rory, who's kind of like the John Bender criminal type of kid, and then we've got Chloe, who's like if the art freak and the brain were like mashed together, you know. And so like that was kind of where it started. But what was so fun about it was looking at each of these sort of like tentpole like types of characters that you have in the YA genre, and then going through like, you know, all of the teen movies I loved as a kid, all of like the early 2000s and mid 2000s YA, and how that kind of codified how we view these tropes now. Obviously a huge thing, like a book that this book is in conversation with obviously is Paper Towns, because I really wanted to subvert some of like the tropes established by that book. Like, I think we had a lot of media about, oh, like the girl who everybody loves is actually really really just like this troubled normal girl, and we're projecting this dream girl onto her, and like she just wants to be left alone. And I was like, what if I subvert that, and instead like the dream girl is like actually an absolute nightmare? And what if, because I haven't seen that done before, so I was like, let's do that. And I haven't seen it done before in a rom-com, at least we've seen it done in like Gone Girl, but like in a rom-com. And so then like with Smith and Rory, I was like, okay, how do we subvert these characters? And so Smith, I was like, okay, we've got a quarterback with a heart of gold, but I haven't seen this done in like a gendery way. You know, I haven't seen anybody explore like, what if that character wasn't cis, and like how does that interact with being an athlete and his body being the thing that's most valuable for him in his career and his life. And so like that was really, really fun and interesting to explore. And then like this nice guy, but like bad boy exterior boy next door character, I feel like we've seen a bunch, and it's always like, oh, he's like, but he's actually secretly soft inside, and like he's the one the girl's going to end up with. He's the one we should root for. And I was like, what if he was like kind of compulsory heterosexuality-ing himself into this crush. I hope this isn't too spoilery. But so basically I was trying to, I took these characters and I was like, okay, I'm going to subvert these tropes in ways I haven't seen before. I'm going to explore this archetype in a way I haven't seen done before. And then I let that kind of unfold out into the rest of their character. And so Rory became a musician, and he became like this kid who's like, oh, I'm so angsty and I look like a poser because I live in the country club, but I'm actually like an indie dirtbag, and like all of those things. And then like giving him this like awkward nerdy interior where like he only seems cool because he's silent all the time because he doesn't know what to say because he's awkward. And then Smith making him this like warm, steady presence who would never be shitty to anyone. Do you cuss when you do YA events? When I do adult events, I cuss all the time, but like
you know, it's funny. I mean, I do, but then it's like I'm like writing a character right now who doesn't cuss a lot, so I'm like cussing less.
Okay.
But I don't want to give you bad advice because
okay, I'll say like so I feel like the jock in a Southern high school, I have like severe like distrust for that person, as based on my experience in high school. I'm sure you, as somebody who went to high school in the South, can also relate that the jocks were like, if one person is going to give you issues for the rest of your life, it's like the hot guy who's on the football team who asks you out as a joke. And I wanted Smith to be like the antithesis of that. Like I wanted Smith to be the most trustworthy person you could think of. He's calm, he's warm, he's steady, he's reassuring, he's gentle, he's like everything that you don't think a character like that would be. That was such a long answer to such a short question. But
I find this like fascinating. Like it's so interesting because like I can absolutely see it like now, but I would never have you know, it's so seamless in the book. It just feels like these are who these people are. They, you know, you don't see the gears and like just you know the very intentional deconstruction.
yeah, it was all so intentional, and like I was literally like making like charts and stuff.
So like and like that's so wild. Like because they yeah, I mean because when you read it, it just reads like well yeah, like of course they're gonna do and say these things because that is who they are because they're clearly like kind of real people a little bit. Like I know
Yeah.
they're fictional, but they're like kind of real, you know, and like
Yeah.
it just like
Yeah.
feels so real. I think
Yeah.
you know, I guess okay, so well what I want to ask you kind of in that vein, um, you know, and this is I mean, maybe like just slightly to the left of kind of what you've been talking about, but just maybe a little more general in terms of process and just in particularly developing characters, um, kind of taking them from you know these mapped out kind of you know these are the tropes that I am deconstructing and kind of here
Hmm.
are the little beats that I have in my head, kind of the you know just these moments, these things that are important to them. How do you um, get from there to here? Because you, in particular, you know, every character of yours
Hmm.
is like so real to me.
Thank you. Actually, I'm gonna grab something to show you, which is my planning notebook that I have that I used for this book. And I have some character sheets because I'm a huge nerd. So like this is my Shara character sheet.
Oh, yeah.
And so I've got like it's broken down into like all like her like basic stats, but then I've got like her aesthetic, 3 hobbies, 3 interests, favorite media, social media, childhood, sibling relationships, parental relationships. What would she do on a rainy day? What's her dream date? What are her college plans? What's her big flaw? What's her worst fear? So like not all of this is even in the book, but I need to know it or else she's not going to feel real. Like I need to know, you know, what is she like watching on Netflix on a Sunday night? Like I need to know how her life continues off the page or else nobody's going to believe that it does, you know. And so I feel like a big part of writing for me is literally just sitting around making character sheets and making playlists and making like literal like physical mood boards. Like I will print out pictures from the internet like it's like it's 2005 and like collage them together. um and that is huge in helping me understand the characters, and then once I understand them they really kind of like I'll have my outline of the plot, but then I can be like, oh well, like this character wouldn't actually do this, that doesn't make any sense, so let's rework this part of the outline, you know. And that I feel like I'm a very very character driven writer, and that is like why these characters feel so intentional and so real, is because I literally am spending hours with them. Like sometimes there'll be a character that I feel like I don't get or like I can't really lock into. What like for this book I had a hard time with Georgia, like figuring out how to make her stand out in the ensemble, because she did have this kind of like very like quiet presence that's like her personality. But she's Chloe's best friend, so she needs to stand out, and we need to have a reason. We need to care about the fact that she's kind of blowing Georgia off the whole book to go chase Shara down. And so we need to give the reader a reason to care by making Georgia a memorable character. So I had to spend a whole day that was just like me hanging out with Georgia for a day. And like literally, and that was when I came up with the idea of like her like spending months like trying to figure out her like lesbian aesthetic. And that's when I came up with the idea that she would have a giant hydro flask that she was always carrying around that was like banging into everything. Like those like character quirks are things that I develop like really intentionally, because I'm like, this character, like I remember when I was reading the first draft over, I literally put a note down like I forgot to make the supporting characters memorable, and I was like, go back and redo all the supporting characters. And so like all the characters like Benji and Georgia and Ash. Ash was originally two people. Originally, Ash was like a set of twins, one non-binary twin and then one cis twin. And then it was just they did not have distinctive personalities. So Ash, I always joke that Ash resorbed their twin like in the womb, and now they're just one character. I mean, I spent a lot of time with these kids, and yeah, and so then I feel like after time and time and time and time again, editing and drafting and revising, that's how we get to here.
Yeah. I mean, like, you know, it's the real deal. Like when an author knows the history of these characters, like in the womb.
Yeah.
Like, know what's up in the womb.
Well, I meant in like my creative womb, but yes, that too.
I'm like, I feel like legitimate backstory. Like I buy it. You know?
No, I did not develop the backstory.
Yeah, no, I was like, wow, like I need to like step up my game.
Yeah, no, I've never done an in utero backstory personally, but I'm sure there's an author who has.
I'm sure there, yeah. Yeah, I find that so interesting. All right, I'm gonna hop in because we see we have so many
yeah, oh my lord, there's 73.
I'm like, yeah, so I'm gonna dive in, and I apologize in advance because I don't think we're going to be able to get to every single one of them, but I'm going to
try and answer as fast as I can so we can get to as many as we can.
Cool. Okay. Okay. So the top upvoted question is from Caleb. In a 2019 interview, when asked
Caleb coming in hot, citing their sources.
I know. I am like legitimately so impressed. It's like, yeah, that's valuable material. Asked about a potential Red, White, and Royal Blue sequel. You mentioned that you would be surprised if that was the last we saw of Alex and Henry. Is that something actively on your radar? And do you think there will ever be a true sequel or a spinoff?
So I can tell you, okay, I'm going to try not to like disclose things I'm not supposed to disclose. So I could tell you that for the collector's edition, the hardcover that's coming out in October, that I wrote a new chapter. And when I say new, I mean like all new events. And it's over 8,000 words, and it's from Henry's point of view. And it covers some time after the events of the book, so like going into their future together. But I really want to keep it a surprise, like what's in it. So because I think it's gonna be, I really think readers are gonna like love it, and I deliberately wrote it like in a way that if I was a reader I would go like absolutely bananas for, like hardcore fan servicey. And so there's a lot of new content there. As far as like a spinoff or a sequel, I feel like I'm going to answer the same way I did in 2019, which is I will never say never, and there may or may not be more stuff in the future, but I also have a lot going on right now. But watch, I don't know, maybe there's a lot going on right
now. Okay, well, that leads us, I feel like, into our next question. This is another one. This is like, speaking of you having a lot going on right now, but this also may be something you're not able to
at liberty
about, but so how involved do you get to be with the Red, White, and Royal Blue movie, and can you tell us anything about it?
So I am involved to the extent that like I don't make any decisions, basically. I don't make a lot of decisions. I like most of the time decisions, most of the time like decisions are made and then I get to like see it and then I'm like, wow, that looks great. Good job, everyone.
Yeah, that was my role as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I'm like involved in the sense of like I definitely have like like the director, Matthew Lopez, like director screenwriter, will like text me updates like on a pretty regular basis and like send me pictures and stuff, which is really fun. But I am not like I'm not like making casting decisions, as I'm sure you know, like from your experience, like there is a whole casting department and then like and they make decisions. But so far I have loved all of the decisions that they have made. And I really can't say that much more than that. I can say that we're in like pre-production right now, which I don't think is a secret because it's on IMDb. So I think I'm allowed to say that and I won't get in trouble. But I really can't say anything more than that. I really can't, but watch this space.
This is so exciting. This is great. And also too, like, I mean, we are all in it here for the mystery, you know, so that's like, you have this mystery to keep you going. And in the back of your head, you can be thinking about the mystery of like, what's going on with the movie and when will we know more? Okay. So, all right, moving on to, I like this one a lot. Because I think we sort of almost touch upon this, talking about your backlist versus like so the question from Shannon: hi Casey, I was curious to know, after writing 2 very successful novels that were in the new adult genre, what inspired you to branch out into young adult?
So this is actually kind of a funny question because I pitched and sold I Kissed Shara Wheeler with the title attached in the fall of 2018. So I had sold Red, White, and Royal Blue to Macmillan, and then it was time to like, okay, let's like, you've got this book coming out in a few months, like let's like hear what else you want to do. And so I pitched 4 ideas, 2 YAs and 2 like adult, all of them queer rom-coms, and the 2 that were picked were One Last Stop and I Kissed Shara Wheeler. And so I sold One Last Stop and I Kissed Shara Wheeler at the same time. And so I sat on the secret of I Kissed Shara Wheeler for a full 3 years. Oh, yeah. And now it is coming out almost 4 years after I first pitched it and had the idea. So that here's a little insight into how things move in publishing sometimes. So it wasn't so much of like a decision I made to switch genres, because I really didn't know yet that my books were going to be successful. Like I had no idea if it was possible that like my adults books would kind of just like debut quietly and kind of just hang out, and then I could hit it big with YA, or you know, anything was possible at that point. And I you know, when Macmillan Wednesday Books, they were really interested in me being a crossover author because I wrote kind of genre straddly books, like younger adult books. And so they're like, we'd like to see you write like an older young adult book too, because we really think you could be like a crossover author. And so I was like, dope, here's some pitches. And they picked an adult and a YA. And I'm really happy that they did, because I have always been such a huge fan of YA contemporary. Like some of my favorite books growing up were YA contemporary. I was a huge fan of like the Georgia Nicholson series. I like the Princess Diaries. I was like definitely one of the early adopters of the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. But I also loved like Sloppy First, and I was really into Pretty Little Liars. So like I'd always loved YA contemporary, and I always really wanted to do it, and I always really wanted to do it my way and like do it in a fun, like tropey, subversive way. And so Like that was why I wanted to, that's why I pitched what I pitched. But it really kind of happened by accident that like, you would think like, why would you switch it up when you've like when you've been successful doing this other genre? And I'm like, well, I didn't really know I would be. So,
Yeah, well,
so here we are,
well,
but I think it's working out.
I think this is something that people don't realize too about Red, White, and Royal Blue, you know, and particularly being your debut is like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like Red, White, and Royal Blue overperformed. It wasn't necessarily like, you know, back when you would have sold it, like I think like that would have been seen still as a bigger risk within publishing than it is now, with Red, White, and Royal Blue being a big part of like, you know, that door opening.
Yeah. Well, I think people, yeah, sorry, I'm interrupting you, but I got really excited to talk.
No, that's
but
it. Yeah.
But I think that you probably know from your experience with Simon Versus, where I think similar to Red, White, and Royal Blue, they were like small books. Like they were books. They didn't have huge advances. They didn't have huge budgets behind them to promote them. There was not like all of this like fanfare coming out the gate. It was very much word of mouth. And it was very like, for me, at least, it was really unexpected. And so then you're like, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm here. What do I do now? You know?
Yeah. Well, and it's like, I mean, and it really goes to show too, just like like what audiences are able to do with like, that sincere passion.
Yeah. Readers are so cool. I love the coolest thing in the world is having, I genuinely think the coolest thing in the world, the only thing I ever like the thing that I think makes me really feel like all of this is worth it sometimes is the feeling of having people be nerdy about something you created is the best feeling of the world.
Like, yeah, knowing there's fan fiction and stuff like that. It's like,
well, like, and knowing that like sometimes when I just like search like the title of my book on Etsy and like seeing stuff that people have made, I'm like, that's so cool.
I also searched the title of your books on Etsy.
Oh yeah, I love like stealthily buying. I love stealthily buying fan-made merch and then just like having it, and like they'll never know that I have it, but I have it.
Oh, I totally do that too. I've got like my like Simon scrunchie like right over there or something. But
yeah,
I do consider myself part of your fandom though as well. So
thank you, mutual.
Okay, so next question. What would you say your biggest inspiration for your writing is? And also what would your advice be to a young queer writer who is trying to get their feet under them still?
I think my biggest inspiration for my writing is, I think I just like, this might sound weird, but like, as long as I can remember, I just like have had such like a vivid like fantasy world in my head. Like I literally can't remember a time that like I didn't like write little stories in my head to fall asleep at night, you know, like, or like imagine stuff, like imagine scenarios and characters and something. Like literally every night I'm like, yeah, literally every night it's like I flip through the Rolodex, like, what do I want to put on tonight? You know, when I'm laying in bed falling asleep. And so I guess my biggest inspiration is just being able to put that on a page and make it something that can actually be experienced. That's like what has always inspired me, is just like, I just need to like do something with this. I just need to like get it out. I want to put it into words. It's hard. Like I never had a moment where I was like, I'm going to start writing, because I literally like have always written. Like but since before I can even remember, I was writing stories, and that's like the only thing I ever really wanted to do. And so it's like my inspiration is just like, how like wonderful and gratifying and fulfilling it feels to take the stuff in my head and put it on a page. But also, I mean, like, yes, there's also the inspiration of like how wonderful it feels to write something that means something to someone else. That is a huge inspiration too. And now, as somebody who has readers, that's one of the things that keeps me going, is like, I want to give the people who my work resonates with, I want to give them more, you know? But my advice to a young queer writer still trying to get their feet under them is have a really good support system. Not just of, it's important to have a good support system of other writers, because they're the ones who can like reality check you, and the ones who can, just you can let off steam to them, the ones who will support you and read your work, and you can bounce ideas off of them and write with them. So really try to build a network of really good support, especially of people who like share some of your marginalizations, who can understand specifically like, oh, like this editor said this thing to me and it really made me feel some type of way. Like they can relate and understand. But also really important to have friends who aren't writers, who can just be like, wow, that's nuts. Anyway, so like there's other stuff happening in the world, because sometimes that's a really important reality check too.
Non-writers just like every time like they hear about like what goes on in like YA publishing or something, and they're just like,
yeah, I love like explaining publishing stuff to like somebody who is like a doctor. Like one of my good friends is an ENT, and I'll be like, oh my God, so like this and this. She's like, wow, that's nuts. Today I saw inside a guy's neck. That was also nuts. And I'm like, okay, that was a good reality check. Thank you.
That is so helpful. Yeah.
So, but anyway, I would also say read all the time, read voraciously, read and try to read thoughtfully, and keep track of what you like about what you read, and read critically, and really engage with work and understand why it works for you, and then try and learn from that. And also I would just say, you do kind of have to like grow a bit of a thick skin as a queer person and a writer. That what we do is incredibly personal, and you can't always control the way that people are going to engage with it or respond to it. And so being confident and like your own identity and your own voice and your own point of view, and being able to have like that validation coming from within yourself and within your own immediate community, rather than trying to find it from externally, from like the response to your writing as you continue to grow. Like I think is really, really important in continuing to like build your voice and build your confidence as a writer. So also have fun. Yeah.
Good advice. Yeah, that's helpful. Also, I will say too, even if you are many books into your career, that's a very good reminder.
Yeah.
Okay. Your 3 novels are all amazing and unique in their own way, but if you had to choose one, which universe would you like to live in?
I mean, I think this is an obvious answer, because I think that One Last Stop and Shara Wheeler, I mean, I like to think they all kind of share the same universe, because I want to believe that that is the world that like the One Last Stop and I Kissed Shara Wheeler cast are in. But I think that like, if I have to choose one, it would be the Red, White, and Royal Blue universe, where like our government functions. I think would be really fun to live somewhere where our government functions. So
it's like yeah, you wouldn't think that'd be like distant.
Yeah, that's the big escapist fantasy I would like to live inside.
What is your favorite trope that you haven't written yet?
Oh, I really want to do exes to lovers, like getting back together. I have a soft spot for that. I don't know why, but I just do. Like my parents never split up or anything. But yeah, I really want to do exes to lovers, and I have something planned for that, like a new standalone. Don't worry, I'm not breaking up any existing couples that I have in any of my books. So yeah, I think exes to lovers is a new, it's a way I have it. Like I obviously everything I like, the thing I love most is enemies to lovers, but that's an angle I haven't done enemies to lovers from yet, is like bitter exes back to lovers. So that's something I would like to do.
I would like to read that. I think it sounds wonderful. And okay, I'm gonna try to keep going.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and keep, I'm answering way too long, so that's not your fault. That's fine.
You're amazing. First of all, when I am like answering questions, like I will go on for like 1,000 years and not realize like I think it does help with our writing to have that kind of brain, but like
yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna like keep it on the time. Maybe I'm gonna kind of go through and pick like 5 more? Would that,
Okay.
does that sound kind of?
Yeah. Follow your heart.
Okay. Um, huh. I love, what would Shara's order be at Billy's Pancake House?
I feel like Shara gets like she orders a Belgian waffle, which no one ever orders, and so she pisses off the kitchen staff because they're like, we have to clean the waffle iron now. So she orders the Belgian waffle with like a ton of like whipped cream and strawberries on top.
That's amazing. This is like, I feel like every author should be asked about their character's Billy's pancake. Like, let's see. Okay. Oh, I like this. Why did you decide to make Chloe a theater kid?
I think that Chloe had to be a theater kid. First of all, I wanted to do something like a similar social strata to the one I was in high school, but I was a band kid and I didn't want to write my own story. I was like, I don't want people to think this is autobiographical. And so I made her a theater kid because I did do the spring musical. So I knew what that was like, but it was not like the main part of my identity in high school. And also I just felt like it really suited her personality to be very dramatic. So
yeah, can confirm as a theater kid, where it was my own personality in high school.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, yeah. What was it like, and what is it still like getting a lot of success with the first book you wrote and published? And do you have any advice for aspiring authors?
It's bananas, and it's like it's still kind of weird just in the sense of like it all happened really fast and I had no expectation anything like that would happen, and so it took a long time to even wrap my brain around it. And I feel like the first like year or so just felt completely surreal, and then we were in a pandemic, so it's like I feel like I'm still processing everything. But I mean it's really really cool. It's hard for me to even describe because again I feel like I'm still processing it. I think I could have a better answer for this after I go on tour this week, because this is like gonna be my first time going out into the world since like everything. Because like Red, White, and Royal Blue debuted well, but like really didn't take off till like quarantine. Like I feel like that was when that was like all of a sudden it was like back on the list and like people really found it because I think people needed it during quarantine. So, but I mean, it's really cool. I think the best advice I have is to surround yourself, like stick with people that you started with, and then also surround yourself. I ordered like $60 worth of Italian food to come at like 8:30, and of course it's here early, so I'm just gonna let them leave it at the door. Just like they're knocking at the door. But anyway, my advice would be to just really surround yourself with people that you trust. Surround yourself with people who will have your best interests and will give you good advice and will not lie or like BS you, because it gets a little weird out here and you need a good support system. And I would also say like enjoy it as much as you can. Like it's wild, and like for somebody like me who's like, I'm a pretty private person, I have an anxiety disorder. I have a lot of like, it gets a little overwhelming sometimes. But I always like remind myself like this is the coolest thing ever. Like I'm so lucky, and I remind myself all the time, like stop stressing out, stop micromanaging, just like enjoy this. Just like this is the coolest, this is everything you ever dreamed of. So just enjoy it. And also get a psychiatrist.
Let's see. Okay. Who would the main character's favorite music artists be?
I think, okay, so I have, let me plug the playlist that I do have. I did release 4 playlists in the past month, one for each of the main characters of Shara. And so if you go to my link tree, which is in the bio of my Twitter and Instagram, there is a link to all the character playlists, so you can go and view that, and those include a lot of the artists I think they would listen to. But I think Shara is a Taylor Swift girly for sure. I think Chloe likes, I feel like Chloe is really into Mitski. I feel like I think that Smith likes Frank Ocean. And I think for Rory, I feel like I see him being really into like Leon Bridges.
You have such great taste.
Thank you.
As do you. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so I'm not sure I've been like totally keeping track of how many, but
you're doing great. You're doing a great job.
5. Should we say it's number 4 just in case I don't like?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah.
It's number 4, even though it might be 5.
We could do 2. I think it's 4. I think you're right.
I think it's 4. Yeah. So the book is set in the Deep South. And from what I've seen from your Insta, this book has so many references to small town Southern life that I relate to. How did you go about writing those vibes?
Okay, first of all, this is the perfect opportunity for me to show off my mug, which says Southern country food at its best. It's a mug from like a small pie shop in like middle of nowhere, Louisiana. I am not from middle of nowhere, Louisiana, but I am from Southern Louisiana. And yeah, I mean, like, it was super personal to me. If you've read any of my books, you know I have like all of these feelings about the South and about how there's all these forgotten queer and trans and marginalized folks in the South and in red states who just get written off all the time, which really is a disservice to them and to us because, you know, they've already been disenfranchised and as much as you could possibly be in the places where they live. So to also be left behind by the people that actually claim to have your best interests at heart really hurts. I think anybody who's a marginalized person from the South feels that, you know? And so to me, I always want to tell these stories and I want to talk about people from the South and queer people and trans people from the South, because I am one and it's really important to me. And I'm like, I might live in New York now, but I'm still, you know, my family is full on rural Louisiana Cajun. And like, this is, you know, that's where I came from. And here I am, you know, like I exist. And I'm like probably one of the least interesting queer people from the South. So like, think about us, like a reminder that we exist. So that's like why I want to do it. And, as far as like what it's like, I think it's really, I don't know, there's something kind of romantic about small towns and like the way that you reach for joy and love and like wonder in these places that are so like limited. And I think that's like really, really interesting to explore from like when you're writing. And I just really have a lot of feelings and I have so much emotion attached to like the imagery of the South and to where I came from. And it's all so complicated and tied up in all of these feelings of like belonging and, you know, anxiety, rejection, all of these things. And so it's really, really rich soil for me to do, you know, emotional writing in. And so I think I will continue to write about people from the South probably like again and again, you know.
Yeah, I grateful Southern reader.
Hey.
So okay, I want to end on this one because I think this is the most fun question ever. Share something from a character sheet that isn't necessarily included in the book.
Okay, all right. Let's see. So I have a really good one for Chloe and I could never find a way to put it in the book. But like, and I think it's like a really funny joke, but I couldn't find a way to put it in the book. So it never got in the book, but I know it. So Chloe's last name is Green, but she has 2 moms. And the reason, and I had to think of like, why does she only use one of her mom's last names? Like, how did they choose it? You know, I need to know this, even if it's not in the book. And so the reason I decided is because I decided that her mama's maiden name was going to be Wiener. And so like when her moms got married, of course, her mama dropped the wiener name and took the green name because she was tired of being a wiener. And they didn't hyphenate because she didn't want to be, because otherwise she would be Chloe Green Wiener. And and so that's so yeah. So the reason that she's Chloe Green is so she's not Chloe Green Wiener. Because I did not think she would survive middle school that way.
No, she wouldn't have. Yeah, this would have been a very different ending to a middle grade book.
Yeah. Chloe decides she wants to be homeschooled.
Yes. So, well, is there anything that we didn't touch on that you kind of, because I guess like this is it, right? This is Shara Eve, and
yeah,
it's a big day. So yeah,
I mean, I feel like there's like, I saw that there's like one question about like this book coming out right now, you know, in the midst of like, you know, the book banning, anti-trans bills, all of these kind of attacks on especially queer and trans kids and like high schoolers, teens in the US, especially in like red states in the South. And I like think about that so much. It was not something I anticipated when I was writing the book, but it feels so important now. I have every expectation that this book is going to get like mega banned immediately, which is whatever. I mean, to me, it just is so like, first of all, I very intentionally, we chose every detail of the packaging to not out the kid that's holding it. Like it's not visibly queer when you look at it. Like if you know, but like you don't know from looking at it on the outside that it's queer. So like a kid could be carrying it around school and not like have their mom told that they're reading a gay book, you know. Every step of the way I was thinking about those kids, and especially the kids like in the least hospitable environments. I just like I feel like you probably can agree with me on this. I really don't give a single crap if I lose one sale from book banning. I don't care about my sale. I don't even care if I get more sales because my books are banned and people are talking about them. I don't think this is about authors' books number, like sales numbers at all. I think this is about the kids that are affected by this legislation. It's about the legal precedents that it's setting. It's about, legislators testing the waters to see how far they can go to legislate marginalized people out of existence and make it hard. It's the same thing as with the bathroom bills. It's just laying groundwork to make it harder to exist as a queer and trans person, or in this case, a queer and trans kid. And if I can cuss, I'll say my one R-rated word. Absolutely fuck that. And I'm going to keep writing these books, and we're going to keep writing these books, and we're still going to keep talking to these kids and telling them there's absolutely nothing wrong with them and that they're allowed to exist. And that we are here on the other side of it. There's like so many adults out here who are going to fight for you. If anybody ever tells you that you're made wrong, which I was told a lot growing up, absolutely fuck them. And you're not. And I love you. And I hope that the kids who read this book know that. And we're going to just keep pushing back. Librarians, teachers, authors, we're all going to keep pushing back against this stuff. And we're not going to let these things be taken away from you. Anyway, that's my soapbox. So that's how I feel.
Yeah, no, it be lovely and perfectly said. And yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, we have you in mind with every word that we write.
Yeah. And that there are, I mean, you and I are proof that there are like queer people who came up through in like Southern environments, religious environments, super repressive environments, and came out the other side and like unpacked our shit years later. And now, we are here and we live. And if I had believed I did believe the things that were said to me sometimes, but if I had really, let it, I guess not let is the right word, but if it had been more effective on me, I don't know that I would be here today. And so what I want to do is let these kids know that there is another point of view and that there's other options for them. There's a future for them that's really cool and possible. So that's how I feel. And I love you guys. And this is great. And in summary, be gay, do crimes. Literally.
Yeah, no, that's sums it up. This is wonderful. I'm like, I'm so excited for you guys. I mean, y'all all have the book coming. I cannot wait for you to read it and just get like share this everywhere and like, yeah, just like share your love and excitement for this one, because like we could all use just this queer Southern joy right now. Yeah, Casey, you're wonderful in every way.
Thank you so much. So are you. Well, thank y'all so much all for coming. I hope that you enjoy the crap out of this book. And I hope that it is some wonderful Southern queer joy for you. And I can't believe it's out tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Thank y'all so much. Y'all have a good night. Thank you so much, Becky.
Oh my gosh. Biggest honor. Yeah. Bye, everybody.
Good night.